Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cha Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayante Nashtaprayesh Vajreshu Nityam Bhavatase Maya Bhagavati Uttam Shloki Bhaktir Bhavati Next Gugana Technology Kvachin Nigirno Ajagaraha Jagrahina Jano Naveti Kinchid Vipine Apvidha Dashtasma Shete Kvacha Danda Shukar Andho Andhakupe Patitas Tamisre. The conditioned soul in the material forest is sometimes swallowed by a python or crushed. At such a time, he is left lying in the forest like a dead person, devoid of consciousness and knowledge. Sometimes other poisonous snakes bite him. Being blind to his consciousness, he falls down into dark well of hellish life with no hope of being rescued. So the conditioned soul in the material forest, that's what we were studying yesterday, and Jad Bharat is further speaking. When one becomes unconscious due to being bitten by a snake, one cannot understand what is taking place outside the body. This unconscious condition is a condition of deep sleep. Similarly, the conditioned soul is actually sleeping on the lap of the illusory energy. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has sung Kota Nidra Jao Maya Pishachi Rakole. O living entity, how long will you sleep in this condition on the lap of the illusory energy? People do not understand that they are actually sleeping in this material world, being devoid of knowledge of spiritual life. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore says, Enechi Oshadi Maya Nashivara Lag. I have brought medicine to awaken every living being from perpetual sleep. Please receive the holy name of the Lord, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and awaken up. Means we are so ignorant or sleeping in the sense that we have no interest in spiritual life. So people are completely ignorant of spiritual life. So they're basically sleeping on the laps of Maya. And it's been going on since time immemorial. The sleeping condition means loss of all knowledge. In Bhagavad Gita, it is also said, Ya Nisha Sarvabhutana. What is night for all beings is a time of awakening for the self-controlled. Even in the higher planets, everyone is under the spell of the illusory energy. No one is really interested in the real values of life. The sleeping condition called Kal Sarpa, the time factor, keeps the conditioned soul in a state of ignorance, and therefore pure consciousness is lost. In the forest, there are many blind wells, and if one falls down in one, there is no chance of being rescued. In a state of sleep, one remains perpetually bitten by some animals, especially snakes. And everybody is in this state of ignorance, and they think this is life. This is what life is. This is what enjoyment is. And this is how everybody should live. And this is what Bhagavad Gita says, Ya Nisha Sarvabhutanam Tasyam Jagrati Samyami. What is night for all beings is a time of awakening for the self-controlled. Means where everybody is sleeping towards the spiritual knowledge, the self-control, they are awakened to it. Means they engage their time and energy in that aspect. And wherever the self-controlled are sleeping means towards a material enjoyment, that's where everybody enjoys. They just want to waste their time and energy and effort and money, everything in that aspect. Karhi smachit shudra rasana vichin one's tas tanmakshi kabhir व्यथितो विमानः तत्राति कृच्छ्रात् प्रतिलब्ध मानो बलाद विलुम्पन्त्यथ तं ततोऽन्ये. Sometimes in order to have a little insignificant sex enjoyment, one searches after debauched women. In this attempt, one is insulted and chastised by the women's kinsmen. This is like going to take honey from a beehive and being attacked by the bees. Sometimes after spending lots of money, one may acquire another woman for some extra sense enjoyment. Unfortunately, the object of sense enjoyment, the woman, is taken away or kidnapped by another debauchee. And this is what is going to happen in the next 1 week or so. In the name of Valentine's Day, all sorts of nonsense things will go on. And funny thing is, the Valentine's Day all originated either here or in Europe, most probably in America. And here nobody even bothered about this Valentine's Day. Only the marketing people. That's about it. But in India, everybody is going so crazy about it. It just, I mean, if we haven't celebrated it, that it's like we haven't celebrated Janmashtami or Ram Navami. I don't know. People are going so crazy about Valentine's Day and spending so much of money on each other for what? Some extra sense enjoyment. That's all. In a great forest, honeycombs are very important. People often go there to collect honey from the combs, and sometimes the bees attack and punish them. In human society, those who are not Krishna conscious remain in the forest of material life simply for the honey of sex life. Such devotees are not at all satisfied with one wife. They want many women day after day with great difficulty. They try to secure such women. And sometimes, while trying to taste this kind of honey, one is attacked by a woman's kinsman and chastised very heavily. By bribing others, one may secure another woman for enjoyment, yet another debauchee may kidnap her or offer her something better. This woman hunting is going on in the forests of the material world, sometimes legally and sometimes illegally. Consequently, in this Krishna consciousness movement, the devotees are forbidden to have illicit sex. Thus, they avoid so many difficulties. One should remain satisfied with one woman being duly married. One can satisfy one's lusty desires with his wife without creating disturbances in society and being punished for doing so. And this goes on actually in the name of love, and there is no love. It's all lust. Lustily running after all this, and in the end, nothing. And why this happens, why the whole world is running, and that's why it's called Naitunya Agar, this whole world. Because ultimately it's coming from Krishna. But Krishna's dealing with the gopis is completely spiritual. That is the topmost perfection of love, especially love of Srimati Radharani for him and his love for her. But when it is perverted, and the reflection, when we see the perverted reflection in the material world, with our perverted and contaminated consciousness, we take it completely in a wrong way. And then we try to emulate that. And that's where we make the mistake. First of all, trying to emulate Krishna and Radharani's love, which is completely spiritual, and what we understand is material and that too with contamination. We try to emulate that. What is going to happen? We are going to be entangled in the material world for many, many, many lifetimes. So that is why the acharyas, they don't even talk about Radha Krishna's pastimes, their loving pastimes, because we are not ready to understand that yet. Consciousness, our mentality is so degraded. It has to be brought up to the right level before we can even think of talking about or reading about Radha Krishna's pastimes. And that bringing up to the level is what is this Vedi Bhakti. So the consciousness has to be lifted up properly under the guidance of a guru, bona fide guru. That's why in Prabhupada's books, he only in Nectar of Devotion, and maybe some other book, but I just have read in the Nectar of Devotion only, where he talks about and didn't go in details about the Radha Krishna pastimes. Because he knew we are not qualified yet. We're not pure yet. And we'll definitely misunderstand. And once we misunderstand, what in the world are we going to preach about? The wrong knowledge. Knowledge misunderstood and then given out wrongly, it makes even chaos, complete disturbance it will create. Kvachit shitat pavat varsha pratikriyam kartu manish asate kvachin mitho vipanan yaccha kinchit vidvesham richatiyut vittishatya. Sometimes the living entity is busy counteracting the natural disturbances of freezing cold, scorching heat, strong wind, excessive rainfall, and so forth. When he is unable to do so, he becomes very unhappy. Sometimes he is cheated in business transactions, one after another. In this way, by cheating, living entity creates enmity among themselves. This is an example of the struggle for existence, the attempt to counteract the onslaught of material nature. This creates enmity towards another in the way of the material world. The Krishna consciousness movement aims at creating an atmosphere of non-envy. Of course, it is not possible for everyone to become Krishna conscious, but the Krishna consciousness movement can create an exemplary society wherein there is no envy. These are Prabhupada's words. We can create, and hopefully one day we will. But this cheating in business transactions is basically because of enviousness. I am envious of somebody having more money than I do. So what do? I cannot work hard to make as much money as he has properly. So let me cheat him out of his money. So if I cheat him, if I take his money away by hook or by crook, maybe I took off his 1 lakh rupees, and so he is poorer by 1 lakh and I'm richer by 1 lakh. And I feel better. But we don't understand. If a person is having some money, it's because of his hard work and because of his past pious activities. And we cannot take away anybody's pious activities. So in the process, what happens, because we read yesterday or day before that so many people are taking note of everything that we do. And if I have cheated somebody of 1 lakh rupees, Sooner or later, I will have to pay back with interest. And the person who lost money, if he was not supposed to lose and I cheated him, he will get back his money from somewhere else. Krishna will make the arrangements. But I will lose 1 lakh plus the interest. And the interest is not whatever I think I should pay, whatever they're going to charge. So why? But the problem is in this Kali Yuga, people have no faith in the scripture. They're not afraid of the scriptures or the punishments mentioned in the scriptures. क्वचित् क्षीणधनस्तु तस्मिन् शय्यासन् स्थानविहारहीना याचन् पराधप्रतिलब्धकामः पारक्य दृष्टिर्लभते अवमानम्. On the forest path of material existence, sometimes a person is without wealth and due to this does not have a proper home, bed or sitting place, nor proper family enjoyment. He therefore goes to beg money from others, but when his desires are not fulfilled by begging, he wants to borrow or steal the property of others. Thus he is insulted in the society. The principles of beg, borrow, or steal are very appropriate in the material world. When one is in womb, he begs, borrows, or steals. If begging is unsuccessful, he borrows. If he cannot pay, he steals. And when he is caught, he is insulted. This is the law of material existence. So, well, in these days, if he is caught stealing, if he can still get away with it, he's not insulted. In fact, people honor him actually. So very few people who get caught cheating, they get insulted. And they, even afterwards, they don't even care. They'll just make some excuses for it and they still go on with their lives. No one can live here very honestly. Therefore, by trickery, cheating, begging, borrowing, or stealing, one tries to satisfy his senses. Thus, no one in this material world is living peacefully. So the whole crux of working hard or stealing or cheating or begging or borrowing or trickery is to satisfy one's senses. That's all. Giving comfort to the gross senses and satisfying mind. In my mind, I think I have, I feel happy when I have $1 million worth of property or cash or whatever I have. Oh, it feels good. But at the end of the day, all we're going to eat is 2 or 3 chapatis, and all I need is a few feet of space to sleep on. That's it. Even if somebody has a mansion, he's not going to live in every room. It just gives one mental satisfaction that I have such a big place. I'm such a big person in the society, and people come and respect me and they listen to me. And I have so many businesses running, and every day lakhs of rupees are coming in my bank account. Just the numbers, that's all. And what will Krishna do? He gives collective karmas. If he doesn't want to give individual karma, he gives collective karmas. So he sends coronavirus. Okay, you all die because of coronavirus. And then he sends this flooding in Ganges. I don't know how many people have died already. So many things Krishna can do, and he still does, but we still don't learn our lessons. That's the problem. Sangavriddha Vairanu Vihan Mithascha Advanyam Ushmin Urukrichrivitta Badhopasargar Viharan Vipanna. Due to monetary transactions, relationships become very strained and end in enmity. Sometimes a husband and wife walk on the path of material progress, and to maintain their relationships, they work very hard. Sometimes, due to scarcity of money or due to diseased conditions, they are embarrassed and almost die. In this material world, there are many transactions between peoples and societies as well as between nations. But gradually, these end in enmity between the two parties. Similarly, in the marriage relationship, monetary transactions are sometimes overpowered by the dangerous conditions of material life. One then becomes diseased or monetarily embarrassed. In the modern age, most countries have developed economically, but due to business exchanges, relationships seem to be strained. Finally, wars are declared between nations, and as a result of these upheavals, there is destruction all over the world and people suffer heavily. Money, 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 sweeter than honey. And because of that, all the relationships become very strained. And it happens very often, and so frequently it is happening because of money transactions or not so clean transactions. Brothers become enemies, and sisters, brother and sister, father, son, husband, wife, so many. They all become enemies, and that too, not just the enemies, the real enemies that they just cut down the throat of each other. And here Prabhupada said the nations become enemies. And that too for something that we're not going to take with ourselves. When we die, we're just going to leave everything here. Tanstan vipannan sahi tatra vihaya jatam parigriya sartha avartate adyapi na kashidatra viradhana paramapeti yogam. My dear king, on the forest path of material life, first a person is bereft of his father and mother, and after their death he becomes detached. He becomes attached to his newly born children. In this way, he wanders on the path of material progress and is eventually embarrassed. Nonetheless, no one knows how to get out of this, even up to the moment of death. In this material world, family life is an institution of sex. Yan mathunadi grimedi sukham hitucha. Through sex, the father and mother beget children, and the children get married and go down the same path of sexual life. After the death of the father and mother, the children get married and beget their own children. Thus, generation after generation, these things go on in the same way without anyone's attaining liberation from the embarrassment of material life. Well, embarrassment from the point of view of scriptures. People in general, they're not embarrassed. They're very happy. They should be, my son should be there who will take the name of the family further. I don't know what is going to happen with that name of the family, but this is the desire of everyone. No one accepts the spiritual process of knowledge and renunciation, which end in Bhakti Yoga. Actually, human life is meant for Jnana and Vairagya, knowledge and renunciation. Through these, one can attain the platform of devotional service. Unfortunately, people in this age avoid the association of liberated people and continue in the stereotyped way of family life. Thus, they are embarrassed by the exchange of money and sex. This Prabhupada says, or the shloka says, people are not embarrassed these days. They're very happy, showing the money and the progeny, or the whole family, how the family is growing and who's doing what and this or that. And not knowing that this is what is entangling me, this is what is binding me more and more to this material world. What I'm doing. But no, this has become the ultimate goal of life. And this was in 12th canto, Kali Yuga symptoms. It is said one of the symptoms of Kali Yuga is a person feels very, very fortunate if he can take care of his family properly. That's all. He doesn't feel fortunate if he comes in contact with devotees or sadhus and takes up the spiritual path. For those who have knowledge, they feel fortunate like this, but 99.9% of population, they do not feel fortunate like that. So further, Jad Bharat will talk about more about this material forest and how everybody is suffering in that. So we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandot Pranam, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Mata.
Prabhuji, I just wanted to thank you. I had so many questions and I was unable to attend the class yesterday, and so many questions of mine got answered. So thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mata. It's all Prabhupada's mercy. Any other question or comment?
Prabhuji, I've shared the details just now.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, so we'll stop here. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.